good news, the master cylinder seems to be working fine, so that's always great. So I have front brakes. Any of you guys have seen my channel for a while, you kind of notice that I don't really do riding videos. But I figured I don't do riding videos, but I had to test out my front brakes anyway. They're working good. So I figured I'd go ahead and take opportunity of the time to just give you like a quick review on the first gen Z1000. Tell you what I think about it. I've been riding bikes for about 15 years now at the making of this video. I've ridden a lot of different motorcycles, so I have a lot of experience. Before I bought this bike, I actually had a 1981 KZ650 that I bought that was completely trashed. I mean, it was all beat up, and I basically rescued the bike, rebuilt almost the entire bike, got it running good, then I sold it, and that's when I saw this bike online, and I thought, you know, I've never actually had a naked bike. This is my first naked bike. I've had super sports. Like I said, I had two Gixxer 750s, but I never had a naked bike. I had a sport touring bike as well, but I never had a naked, so I thought, well, I'll give the naked thing a try. So I didn't know anything about the Z1000. It was a good buy. It was a one-owner bike, so I bought it, and that was 5 years ago now, and I gotta say, I like this bike. I really do. It's a neat bike. It does have its issues, which anyone that has one will probably nod their head in agreement with me on this, but one thing this bike is notorious for is false neutrals in the gearbox. It's notorious for that crap. It usually gets stuck between 5th and 6th. That's usually the culprit. It's not your linkage. It's just the gearbox is just clunky. It often gets stuck between gears. I will say though, since I have switched to Motul full synthetic Easter coral oil, not the 300V, the other one. I think it's either the 7100, the red stuff. Since I switched to that, the false neutrals have really gone down in frequency. I still get one every once in a while, but it's not that often. The other thing about the Z1000 that it's notorious for is getting speed wobble in the front end. It's just, the aerodynamics wise, is not the greatest. It's very notorious for speed wobble, which is why everyone tells you if you get one, first thing you gotta do is put an aftermarket steering damper on, like I did. It literally will save your life. So that's another thing it's prone to have issues with. But all in all, it's not a bad bike. It really isn't. It's a simple bike. The bad part about that is the earlier Millennium bikes like this one also did not have any rider aids. They didn't have ABS, they didn't have traction assist, they didn't have any of those nice software features that help to keep you alive. Quite frankly, they're unforgiving, and that's unfortunately the case with this bike. It's a very raw bike. It's pretty powerful for an old school naked bike if you tweak it up enough. Of course, not as dangerous as, like, you know, the 04 ZX10R or anything like that, or a K5 Gixxer 1000. But for what it is, it's still a pretty powerful bike. And if you're not careful, it could get away from you if you're a new rider. It's not a very refined machine. It vibrates, it wobbles, it makes some noises sometimes, but it's a lot of fun. So yeah, all in all, it's a pretty fun bike. And the nice thing about these bikes is they're cheap. You know, they're pretty old by now. They're cheap, they're inexpensive. You can get them for a couple of grand. So you could get a really nice, simple, and relatively fast naked bike for pretty inexpensive if you look around online. Unfortunately, they're getting hard to find now because there's so few of them anymore. But if you do find one in decent shape, it's not a bad bike. It's built simple, it's easy to work on. So for a wrench like myself that likes to work on his own stuff, it's a pretty nice bike because, again, it's easy to work on and have fun and tinker with. It doesn't have all the fancy bells and whistles of some of the newer bikes, but for what it is, it's still a fun bike to ride. I have a blast on it. I gotta say, I'm liking this new setup. I like these handlebars. It's a little bit more forward than it was, but it's not as forward as, like, again, my Gixxer or anything, or Super Sport. It's kind of in between the two. It's not bad, but it's a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more tucked in, and I think because of that reason, it's actually helped to reduce the wobble in the front end at high speed too, because I'm more tucked and more aerodynamic, so that's kind of nice. But yeah, I'm digging it. I like it. I think it was a good upgrade.